Ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of Forrester Research, here's Mr. Duncan Jones. Mr. Jones, welcome.
Thank you, thank you. Thank you. I must admit I was very anxious when the lady from our marketing department asked me to speak at this event, because I thought an after-dinner event everybody would be loud and noisy, and she said, no, don't worry, the Dutch are very polite, they will listen very quietly and attentively, she said. Yeah. So, I think never trust anyone from marketing is my message. Well, I was speaking to a Belgian client, and he said, don't worry, because if it's the Dutch are hosting, there won't be all that much to drink anyway. So, okay, let's hope that this works. Thank you. This is me. I talk to hundreds of people like you every year about your issues, your challenges in dealing with large software companies, and I want to share some of the things that I've learned. You know, it's a time of real change in the technology market, so I'm going to talk a little bit about the changes in the market and then what you need to do differently as a result of those. Now, Forrester Research focuses on the technology changes that are driving differences in the way that customers behave and treat you as companies. It's all about you and your customers. Not your internal customers, but your external customers. I'm not going to talk about all these technologies in detail, but you know, we all hear about mobile and big data and cloud and all this sort of thing. Excuse me, I'm going too fast with the clicker, so a bit of a lag here. Okay. What I want to talk about is what they actually mean for you as sourcing professionals. So the software world is really changing quite dramatically, and an example of all of these things coming together is this application. It's an application that was developed by a US company for insurance. It's a mobile application, and it's for people who have an accident. They don't know what to do. This takes them step by step through the process, taking a photo of the scene and everything like that. I think it's a really good example of why mobile is different from the PC-based world. This is not something that you would develop on a PC, because you wouldn't have a PC with you. This is something that only works on a mobile. And this wasn't something where the customer, the insurance company, decided this is exactly what I want. I'm going to put that out for fixed bid to see who can build it for me cheapest. This was something where they worked with a technology provider who had some vision of how they could actually differentiate themselves in the market and jointly develop this application. Of course, as soon as everybody sees this, everybody else develops one like this, so it doesn't give you competitive advantage for long. But no, this is the new type of software. It's not software where you say, this is exactly what I want, go build it for me. This is about you working with software companies. Now, does anybody recognize this TV show? Can you raise your hands? So, few people. Okay, the rest of you will have to take it on trust. This is a brilliant analogy. Okay, so this is Game of Thrones, and this is the software Game of Thrones. Is the big software companies are fighting each other for control of the empire. So in the TV show, these families are fighting each other, and you are the peasants sort of trampled underneath them. Of course, in the software world, it's slightly different. These companies, and for those of you who've seen the program, you will realize, you know, just how perfect the analogy is. For example, this family over here has all the money, but they're the evil ones that everybody hates. You know, it's so this is the environment that you're in, and you're kind of like this guy here, struggling to negotiate with these software companies, and you don't have any power, you don't have any leverage. You're given this tiny little shield to defend yourself, and you need them because you're using their software. You can't throw it out, and to be honest, they make great software. You know, they regularly, but they need more money. Their stock price depends on them getting revenue growth, and you can't afford the revenue growth. So So what do you do? Now, one thing you can't do is use your normal procurement tactics of relying on competition, because generally they've engineered a situation where they have no competition. You know, you're using them as a product. And also the contracts don't really protect you. When you need them most, you know, they just tear up the contract and say, well, if you carry on, if you want our software, you've just got to accept this change to the contract. I'm going to give an example of that later. Has anybody had an audit recently? You'll understand what I mean, that this is the salesperson with the knife at your throat, right? I don't care about the contract, I need some money. I've got a great example. It's almost too good to believe. This is a retailer client, and he's selling meat. And the retailer is our client, so I won't name who they are, but the software company came to them and said, you've licensed our software by user. The customer comes into the store, he says, I want that meat. You weigh the meat on the scale communicates with our product to say what the price is. It prints out a label with the price on it. You give the meat to the customer. When the customer reads the label, he is using our software. I kid you not. You need to buy user licenses for all the people who read the label on the meat that you hand them. That's not, it's too good to be true. So they have a contract which says what a user is, that they pay by user, but when the salesperson says, these people are users, what can you do? The lawyers can't help you. It depends on leverage. How do you get leverage? Well, those of you who've seen the program will know that this wall, it's called the ice wall, it plays a prominent role in the program. And south of the wall, it's all sunny. Here are the big software companies. And north of the wall, there's slightly evil creatures. That's the first book is called Winter is Coming. This is this evil zombie creature. And in my analogy, they're people like these who are north of the Great Firewall, right? So the big companies south of the wall are terrified of these new forces of cloud, software as a service, new entrants, or companies like Red Hat, which are the practitioners of the dark arts of open sorcery, right? So this is often where your leverage comes in. But as sourcing professionals, you sometimes face a dilemma. I'm going to move past this slide. A lot of your challenges are that you need to reduce your costs every year, and these companies need to increase their revenue every year. One of the ways that they do that is by using metrics like per core or per terabyte, because they know you're going to need more cores and more terabytes every year, so it's guaranteed revenue. So you're at the top here, and if anybody's in any doubt, the escalator is moving that way, right? You're trying to walk down, cutting your costs, and your costs are going up all the time because you're needing more terabytes. Well, the cloud providers are a way of getting off this cost escalator. That's why they're so important. So when we interview our clients about their priorities, they always tell us that they have these conflicting priorities. That some of you want to increase your innovation and your competition. And that would tend to make you have more of these suppliers north of the wall, some of these new innovative suppliers. And yet, on the other hand, you also tell us you want to rationalize, you want to simplify, you want to consolidate, and that would cause you to actually just do more business with your existing suppliers. So here's a dilemma. What do you do? Well, you have to do both. You have to continually rationalize your incumbent suppliers in order to make space for the new innovation coming from north of the wall, like this. So I'm just going to move slightly over this slide because we don't have time for everything. If you look at the slides later, you can see those coming through. I'm going to talk instead about software co-creation, which is a new way of developing software. Part of our challenge is that we're used to working in a way that doesn't quite work in this new technology market. And we want to develop software that is going to be part of a digital transformation, a real change to the way the organization works. And I've got a nice story about digital transformation that actually comes from Belgium, actually. So, so there's it's from the 16th century. There's a village in Belgium, and they find that the water in the well that they get the water from, it's bad in making everybody ill. So they go to the local transformation consultant and say, what do we do about our well? The water is bad. So he says, okay, if you walk 2 miles due west, you'll find an apple tree with bright green apples. You take the apples, you mash them up, turn them into juice, apple sap, right? Even then they were recommending sap for everything. So so you turn that in, you turn it into apple sap, you put that in the well will be fine. So they do that. They walk 2 miles, they get the apples, turn them into juice, and they put them in the well, and still the well is bad. So they go to the consultant and say, well, it didn't work. What do we do next? He said, oh, that's strange. Usually works. Tell you what, he said, go 5 miles in that direction. There's some pears, another type of fruit. Do the same, pick them, turn them into juice, put them in the well. So he does that, and it still doesn't work. The well's bad. So now the consultant is perplexed. He says, well, one last try. He says, walk 10 miles due south. There's another tree with bright green apples. Turn those into juice, and those will work. So they do that. And eventually, they go back to the consultant and said, we tried everything, and none of it worked. What's wrong? And he says, well, just let me check one thing. You did take the dead dog out of the well first, didn't you? So that's the problem why a lot of our transformation activities don't work, is we've left the dead dog in there. We're doing something around the edges, a website, a mobile application, but we haven't changed the fundamentals of the way we're working. And so, you know, digital transformation and this is a fundamental change in operation. And the software that goes along with that is a fundamental change as well. So we need a new way of working. Now here's some examples of good and bad. This is a bad. This is a company, Avon Cosmetics, you may well have heard of, had a disaster. $125 million of project involving SAP and IBM. It wasn't SAP's fault, it wasn't IBM's fault, it wasn't the systems integrator's fault, but somehow they had to write off $125 million. The software was useless. And of course, you as the procurement person are sitting there and saying, well, it wasn't my fault, you know, but for me, we'd have had to write off $150 million. This is the wrong attitude. This is the old attitude where we're so focused on cost that we forget to think about the most important thing is this is a project that was fundamental to the company's future, and it went wrong. If it had cost 150 million, 200 million, it would still have been better than the failure. So we have to think very much more as sourcing professionals, more about what does success look like and what can we do to ensure success. Here's an example of a company, this is an English company, that was actually very successful in its initiatives. And the CIO said, we can't do this ourselves. We can't go to a supplier and say, this is the future of retail, build this for us. Because we don't know what that future looks like. And there's no one coming to us saying, here is the future of retail, buy that, because they don't know either. The only way we can be successful is us putting our ideas together with their ideas, their capability, and together coming up with something that was better than either of us could have done on their own. And that's what software co-creation is. And I think this is a perfect illustration. The old way we developed software was like this on the left-hand side, where we give a template to the supplier, and we say, we want you to paint this as cheaply and as quickly as you can. But we knew exactly what it's going to look like. Well, on the other side, this is more art. This is where we have this vague idea, We need someone with the design skills to come up with something. We just say, well, we want a painting that looks nice with all the local characters in it, and we get the night watch on the right-hand side. So I would encourage you to think, when you go back to your companies, when you're looking at software development projects, to think, are you trying to create the art that we require for digital transformation, but trying to source it as if it was this paint by numbers approach on the left? Now, one of the things that is important to making this work is we have to be very careful who we pick as partners, because not everybody is capable of working in the way that we need them to. You have to change the way you do sourcing, but also the vendors have to change the way that they work with you. So they need to be able to go the extra mile as well. And we need to reward them. The queen of our sourcing empire is the one who best matches our capability, our criteria for who are the companies that we really want to work with. These are software providers who are going to be strategic to us. Our success depends on them delivering great software to us. Therefore, we better take great care in choosing them. So in closing, I would just like to say, to close with these recommendations, you've got to, I would encourage you to really rethink your organization to be geared towards sourcing these transformative projects and less for the paint by numbers cost-focused approach. Build sourcing strategies that identify who are the best suppliers in your portfolio that you want to work more with, and who are the incumbents that you need to get out of your sourcing strategy, and who are maybe the new ones outside your current environment who you want to bring in as sources of innovation. Make that a formal supplier tiering so that everybody knows who are the best and who are the not so good. And then lastly, look at software co-creation and work out how to source that. What's the commercial model, what's the contract model, what's the governance model, because co-creation is the future of software development. So thanks very much for your attention. If you would like to hear more about these topics, then email me or my colleague Jacqueline, who is in the audience. If you email Jacqueline, she will send you copies of the slides. And of course, I'll be around if you want to speak to me afterwards. I will be happy to speak with you. Thank you very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, Duncan Jones, thank you very much. We've got a little, well, it's a bottle of champagne, I think, for when you're watching Game of Thrones.
Okay.
Here you go. Thank you for your talk.
Thank you very much.